Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video. Many of you have been asking for a feral druid like leveling guide in Dragonflight, what build and stuff to play, and so I wanted to make that video. I'll be honest, I'll be straight up, it's not massively informative, but there's probably a few things that you can pick up that might be beneficial to you and things that you can start working on now over the next few days before the expansion releases. So got this little video here. I'll talk about talents and things like that, but I also want to mention the main things that are gonna, like, the main way you're gonna increase your leveling speed, right? If you're really bothered about that, the main things are gonna be just keep moving, just keep pulling, keep killing things. Like, your just actual genuine movement speed is going to be a big factor, especially in the early levels when you're trying to break away from the herd of people. You just want to keep going, and maybe even don't even loot things for the first few levels as well to help out. So movement speed is very important, and getting movement speed on gear is very important, and I'll talk more about that soon when I can show that off a little bit. But also things like goblin gliders, especially in Dragonflight, where the land is very mountainous and like hilly and stuff like that. Being able to goblin glider off things when your dragon riding's on cooldown and stuff like that is very beneficial. And then within that, with dragon riding, a big incentive for people leveling early is to get your dragon riding maxed out as quickly as you can. I haven't made a video yet on the dragon riding thing, but you could definitely find it and how to max out your dragon riding very quickly whilst you're leveling, so you could have the maximum amount of mobility from dragon riding, which is really going to help out, absolutely. So those kind of main things. Get things like goblin gliders, get movement speed on your gear. There's even things like these fish foods, so you can get fried bonefish. So when you get the well-fed bonus, you get a boost of speed for a short time after killing an enemy. That's really good. So fried bonefish, you can grab those. I also then have a bunch of speed on my gear, my actual gear items themselves. I think I got it right now on this, like, you know, Dragonflight beta. I don't have my full speed set, but there's things like you can get an enchant to your cape. There's just varied pieces of gear that you can get tertiary stats on. There's also this ring you can buy. So versatile selenium ring. It actually has a speed on it, a speed increase on it, and then also has an effect which only works in Shadowlands, but that's fine. And I will just double check 100% that does work. Yeah, so 100% you are getting the speed from that. And then there's just general, like, pieces that you can get speed gear on. There's also a really cool trinket you can grab from Halls of Valor from Hunger of the Pack, or called Hunger of the Pack. It gives you an increase in speed whenever you, for 10 seconds, whenever you kill a target that gives experience or honor. It's not a massive amount of speed, but it definitely probably helps, right? So an extra 14. And then I also then have, like, sockets with speed on. So the gem's name is Straddling Sage Agate, which you only get one of. But then you can also get other varied gems. So you can get this gem, which is Straddling Jewel Doublet, which increases your speed by 13 for each Shadowlands gem you have socketed. So then I also try and put speed or just general, like, stats, so like haste I've got there and stuff like that. Try and just put general Shadowlands sockets in as well to also increase my speed there. So that's how I'm getting all of my speed gear. I'm also getting it on tertiaries and stuff. And on live, I've got, like, a whole set of actual speed gear. And there's also just varied speed enchants you can get on various pieces. I think, like, minor speed on your boots and stuff like that as well. So getting general just speed gear is very important. Now, another thing to note as well is that you're not going to have things like your legendaries or tier sets or covenants or conduits, anything like that. It's all going to be inactive in Dragonflight zones. So you don't need to worry about wearing, like, Shadowlands, legendaries, and stuff like that. You can get rid of those, so you can just equip anything that just has speed on. Is really advantageous. So those are, like, the general kind of speed advantage things that you can use. Now let's talk about the actual, like, builds itself. So right now, I'm in terms of the class tree, a couple cute things. Like, generally, it's not going to matter too much what talent builds you play with. It should all be roughly similar, but there's some things that are going to be very important and some things that are probably going to be, like, big no-nos, things that you probably just want to avoid because they're not really going to have high value. But in terms of speed leveling, it's all about low downtime and just high movement. So you don't want to be having to stop and drink and heal up every 5 seconds because you're taking too much damage, or you have no heals, you have no defensives, anything like that. Utility is probably less of a benefit. Things like Typhoon and Hibernate and Decurse, those things are often not going to be as much value in general. So you want to grab things like high movement speed. So for example, I've got Stampeding Roar. And I've got the reduced cooldown on Stampeding Roar. So that's going to be very beneficial. Renewal, really nice to just have, like, whenever you are going low on health, you should generally have Renewal there or Regrowth. Getting, like Kara's teaching, is very important because you actually just get 6% flat crit, which also incentivizes you to want to stay in cat form. And I'll come back to this later as to another talent that's going to complement this. Then I have Ursine Vigor if I really need to take, say I'm killing an elite, like a rare or something, or like some big quest mob that has a lot of health and there's no one around to help. Something like Ursine Vigor where you can jump into bear form, take a big hit, back into cat, heal yourself up is very nice. Things like Tiger Dash or Wild Charge, whichever you prefer, really good, gets you to the next mob quicker. Skull Bash is important just to have an interrupt, but also getting Killer Instinct increases your damage done and your armor, so it's going to give you sustain and increased damage, which is really good. And then having things like Maim is cool, and Feline Swiftness, really important. Obviously, you're definitely going to grab that. But then you can also grab Tireless Pursuit. So for 3 seconds after leaving cat form or travel form, you retain up to 40% movement speed, which is pretty good because it allows you to, say you have to like jump out and, I don't know, do some quest item, whatever the hell, or like you're running from mob to mob and you need to pull some mobs in, you can do that with Tireless Pursuit and gain some benefit there, so that's good. But in general on the class tree, like things that you're probably not going to care about, things like Nature's Vigil, Innovate, Vortex, things like that you're probably not going to get too much about. Just like you probably, I mean, you can grab Mighty Bash, you can probably drop Ursine there and grab Mighty Bash if you want it, or Incap if you really want it, but you probably don't really need either of those. You can probably get away without them. And then in terms of the actual like spec tree, so some things that I think are really important specifically, Primal Wrath is a must-have, like you have to take that, as well as Predator. Whenever things are dying, and you know you can bleed them up with Primal Wrath and Thrash and stuff, whenever things are dying, they're going to give you energy, give you your Tiger Fury reset, which gives you sustain. Means you can just pull pack to pack, mob to mob, and not have to have any downtime pooling. You're also going to want like Double Clawed Rake when you actually end up pulling mobs in. You're going to want to Double Clawed Rake them so that you have mobs just rotting down very quick. You're also then really going to want, I think Lunar Inspiration is probably the most important talent, even though they did just nerf it. I think it's probably the most important talent because it allows you to pull mobs in, right? So that's going to be very beneficial, and I think that you should grab that because you can stay in cat form, maintain your movement speed, and pull things in from a distance, get tags on things. If people are running around killing everything, you can quickly tag it with Moonfire and then carry on running, and they'll kill it for you. So that's really good. Having general AoE, so Tear Open Wounds and Rampant Ferocity, I think are really good because you just generally, when you get to the higher levels, like I've been finding at level 60, 62, stuff like that, things just pretty much they fall over. But when you get to higher level, like higher level 66, 67, it might slow down a little bit, and that's when mobs have a little bit more health, and your gear's starting to fail you a little bit, and your stat weights is starting to diminish as you level. So things like Tear Open Wound really help just to have like nice big burst AoE. Survival Instincts, if you feel you need the defensive, is good, but you probably don't need it most of the time. And then apart from that, I think like the big things to have are things like Lion Strength. You can maybe even grab Carnivorous and grab some Carnivorous there. I don't think that you need Convoke. You could go like Circle instead and just rot everything down, pull everything together and then rot it down with Circle. So probably do something like that. Apex you could grab as well. Apex would also be pretty nice. But I found a lot of, like, with my leveling, like, I've just been running around just kind of tagging things and then moving on and not really stopping and bleeding things up too much at times. So I don't know that Apex, like, you're going to bleed things up and then stand there and then wait for the proc. So, I don't know, maybe you don't need Apex early on, but maybe you can get it later. Adaptive, I think, is probably not the best for leveling because it's very slow. You want time for Adaptive to build. But I think, like, generally speaking, as long as you've got Lunar Inspiration, as long as you've got Predator, Primal Wrath, anything else is a bonus. Like, you can then just kind of customize it as you see fit. Another nice little incentive is to go with War Mode on to get the extra experience. But also, you can play with an additional 5% crit from your Leader of the Pack, which is really beneficial. You can also get King of the Jungle. So for every enemy that has Rip active on them, your movement speed and healing received is increased by 5%, stacks 4 times. So when you're dotting things up with Rip, this is actually really, really good. You're just going to get passive movement speed from doing that. And then also, you can take Freedom of the Herd, which doesn't reduce Stampeding Roar by a minute, because we already have that over here, but it reduces it by an additional 15 seconds. So my Stampeding Roar should be 1 minute, but it's actually 45 second CD. So that's just nice, again, to get additional movement speed, and just constantly just move, pull, bring everything with Lunar Inspiration and just be pulling things and kind of just moving and grooving, dot a few things up, and that should generally be kind of like how you're able to just get around. So things like Convoke are probably good because you can pull everything in and then you can just blitz everything with Convoke. But in general, I think as long as you have, you know, those main kind of talents that I mentioned, anything else is a bonus. And then I'm getting my movement speed from killing things here. Double Clawed Rake has a little bit of value as well. But I'm kind of finding I'm not getting too many mobs actually close to me. And, you know, things are back there and things are dying pretty reasonably. Imagine you got people also questing around you. Things should die pretty quick, pretty consistently without having to put too much effort in. But Lunar Inspiration is a really nice one. Stops you from constantly having to weave in and out cat form and stuff. But I hope this video was like a little bit helpful. I know it's a little bit of a long one, but hopefully this was helpful for you. And I know people have been asking for this, so hopefully you enjoy it. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.